deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after thee.
Is it? I don't know if it's...
Hold on.
Is this on?
We're not yet. No. Just
Okay.
hold on.
Is it?
Hello?
Bum, 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 bum.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, whoosh. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, whoosh. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, whoosh. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Wildfure. Please stand and join in singing hymn number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. Fortune never pry above this
is Rob Gettings, and I serve on the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg this year. Also, I'm your announcement reader for this morning. From Sybil and the RE Committee, a big thank you to all the volunteers who helped make our Boo at the UU last Sunday a huge success. We had parents and other friends and members help decorate, run the activity booths, donate pumpkins and lots of sweets for our sweet walk, and help to get Wild Hall back in order. Our student volunteers from USC Upstate were also a huge help. Thanks to Pam Stoll and the Hospitality Committee for running a great potluck for everyone. The 10th anniversary Upstate Pride South Carolina March and Festival was held yesterday at Barnett Park. Thank you to everyone who made this glorious day possible. The sun was beautiful, the air was cool, the crowd gathering was amazing. Thank you to all for creating, sustaining, and enthusiastically supporting Pride. Our Usborne book sales is this Sunday, as you probably noticed out in the foyer there. And after the Sunday service, please look over the books if you haven't already, which all make great birthday and Christmas presents. USC will also receive 25% of your purchase price for each book that you buy. Tomorrow, Monday, November 5th, from 6 to 8:30 p.m., Speaking Down Barriers will hold its 5-year anniversary celebration in Wild Hall. All are invited. This gathering will center LGBTQ artists of color. Bring a dish to share in the potluck and come ready to expand together. The annual Spartanburg Community Thanksgiving service will be held on Tuesday, November 20th at 6 p.m. at St. Paul, the Apostle Catholic Church. Please join with our fellow citizens in this time of goodwill and community building. Our offering will benefit Switch, an organization which fights human trafficking and sexual exploitation. Rabbi Yossi Leibowitz will be our speaker. Our annual church auction is coming. Look for an evening of good food, fellowship, relaxation, and friendly competitive bidding, not to mention some great deals. Then the UUCS auction is for you. All family, friends, and visitors are welcome. Child care will be available. This auction will be held in Wild Hall on Saturday evening, December 1st. Please email your donations to auction@uucs.org for dinners, services, and live auction items. And also, just to mention that on the 22nd, there will also be a Thanksgiving dinner here as well. So if you need any information on that or additional information, Rick Hogenberg will be able to help you with that. Okay, at this point, if there's anyone visiting us for the first time, we'd like to have you stand and give your name and just tell us where you're from. Also, this will include any guests, or if you've just been away from the church for a while and would like to reacquaint yourself. So is there anyone who's new here? Okay.
My name is Riley Miller. I am 7 years old and I go in 2nd grade. And my dad might have been here a couple times. His name is Rob Miller Burrell, and I'm glad to be here.
Welcome. Anyone else? Okay. If you were reluctant to stand, or if there's anyone else here who is new or visiting for the first time, just to let you know that there is a visitor's card in the pocket in the seat in front of you, and also if you would feel free to fill that out and put it in the offering plate, and we also have a visitor's pack at the counter in the foyer. Okay. Please stop by and join us for coffee and sweets, or whatever we are serving today, in the foyer after the service. Also would remind you to turn off your phones too, if you would, before we get into the formal part of our service. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for being here today. Thanks, Jinx. I'm happy to be here. Let me add one more announcement to those that Rob has offered. On Sunday, November 18th in the afternoon at 2:30, we will hold here in the sanctuary a service to celebrate the life of Sally Hicks. Sally died last Sunday, and Sally was friend to every living creature she met, even the human beings who are here. Please come to celebrate her life. Yesterday, we celebrated the Pride Festival in March. It was a beautiful day. And my kids joined me in joining you in the march. And before we came, I prepared them for what they might encounter at the march. What I'm talking about were the folks that we anticipated on the sidewalk surrounding us, right? All the protesters that we anticipated we would see. One of my children particularly is very good at reading signs now, as I've shared with you before. He learned a lot of things about Mike Pence yesterday that he did not know, and that I hope he did not understand. But in anticipation of what we would encounter, I shared with them there are people who might yell at us, and this is why. This is what might happen. And one of my kids, I won't say which, said, "If they yell at us, can I curse them back? I know a really good curse." I thought at first that might be from our reading of Harry Potter together. Then I worried it might be from listening to me in your pulpit here. I said, "No, we don't curse back. That's not what we do. But I know a really good one, Dad. No, we respond with love. We bring peace. We're not there to retaliate." And you know, these are lessons that we have tried to teach our children for a long time. For my son, we've tried to teach him that for as long as the Pride Festival has existed, for 10 years. He is the same age. But something about being out in a public space and the preparation, the discipline of walking, it teaches it to you in a different way. And it also teaches you the wonder, the miracle, when nobody's standing on the sidewalk yelling at you, and you thought that they would. Thank you for what you are teaching me and my family by being part of this congregation.
Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become holy ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and to the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Amen. Joys shared are multiplied. Burdens shared are lessened. You're welcome to come now and drop a stone or a shell into the rippling bowl, honoring a joy or burden you carry today. Please rise in body or spirit and join me as we read together our congregational covenant found on the inside cover of the gray hymnal. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. Let us now welcome one another warmly to this place.
So I'd like to invite at this time all of the children, youth, young at heart adults, whoever would like to come and sit up front here. Well, good morning, everybody. So I have somebody special I want to introduce you to today. This is Flo, and she's a pig, right? Everybody can see she's a pig. She's not a flying, well, she might be a flying pig. We'll see in a minute, but no, she's our little pig. Oh, okay. No, this is Flo the pig, and Flo is a happy, peaceful pig. Now, but Flo has a story, and hang on, okay. But Flo has a story, and she didn't always feel this way. So I'm going to tell you Flo's story. Flo was born on a farm in North Carolina, and she didn't know anything much outside of the barn that she lived in and that farm. She lived there with her mom and several brothers and sisters. And most days, Flo would just kind of lie around in the mud, snuggle up to her mom, play with her brothers and sisters, and wait to be fed. So she had a pretty simple life. But then some days, she would hear some of the other animals fighting with each other, and especially the roosters. They really liked to fuss at each other. And one day, Flo was standing there, and she witnessed one of the roosters actually try to hurt the other one. And it scared her. And so Flo ran squealing to her mom and hid underneath her. She didn't like to hear the animals fight. It made her feel really sad and upset. Most of the other animals just kind of ignored what went on, but not Flo. It really bothered her. But Flo was small for her age, and she really didn't know how to stop the fighting. One day, Flo woke up in the barn that she was used to being in, and there was water all around her, and it was raining really hard outside, and it was very, very windy. And Flo had never learned how to swim, but from across the barn, she heard her mom yell at her, "Just try to keep your head up and try to float with the water." Flo was so scared. Suddenly, she felt her body being lifted up by the water. And all she could think about was she didn't know how to swim. Something told her to take a deep breath and to relax. Flo started to feel strong. She knew if she fought the water, she might drown. So Flo closed her eyes and she breathed deeply. So can you close your eyes and think about just floating and take a deep breath? When she opened her eyes again, she saw in the distance a small hill. So she used all of her strength, and she swam over to it, and she climbed up. The water swirled all around her, but it didn't reach her because she was high up on the hill. And she was exhausted at that point, so she fell asleep. When she woke up, the sun was shining like there had never been a storm, and a lot of the water had started to disappear. She looked around her, though, and she didn't recognize where she was because there was a lot of mud and trees down and all sorts of things that she wasn't used to seeing. But then, from across the field, she heard a familiar voice. Who do you think it was? It was her mom. And her mom yelled at her, and she said, "Come here, Flo." And so Flo ran as fast as she could to her mom. Yeah, she actually said that. Some of her friends on the farm had floated away to other places, but many of the animals survived the storm, even the roosters. But despite the storm and it being scary, there they stood, fighting all over again. But this time, Flo knew what to do. She was a survivor. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and she waddled straight up to those roosters, made herself as big as she could be, and she told them that they needed to stop fighting, that they needed to get along with each other and all the other animals on the farm. She stamped her foot. Can you stamp your foot? Or just slap the ground? She said she wasn't afraid of them anymore. And she also said if she saw them fighting again, she was going to run up to them and stand between them. Well, they stopped fighting. Even though Flo was kind of small, she was still bigger than the roosters. And every time the roosters, after that point, that they thought about arguing, they kind of looked around for Flo first. And it made them think twice before they would kind of argue with each other. Flo would see this and she would just smile. She knew she was strong now. And some of the other animals on the farm had nicknamed her Fantastic Flo because she was the peacemaker. Mom was still there too. And her daughter now was Fantastic Flo. And so Fantastic Flo, through her being brave, had made the farm a very special place to live. So I wonder, how many of you could have survived a storm that was scary like that? And what would you have done? You would have hidden under your bed. Yeah, it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. Riley? A good secure place to hide till the storm was over. David? Dig a hole and hide in that? Yeah. Question? Can you say that a little louder? You would turn into a dolphin so you could swim. That's a cool idea. Or at least in your mind you could think of that. Yeah. Henry, what did you want to say? Jump in a window so you could be away from the water. Okay, one more. Yeah. You dig a hole so the water would go underground. That's a good idea, too. That's a very good idea.
That would probably have too much water
Well, you guys keep thinking about that. Let me ask you another question. If you were around the roosters, what would you have done? David? You might feel like fighting them back, but then you talk to them. Good idea. Yeah. What do you think, Laura? Put them in two different places till maybe they stop fighting. That is. You would what? Okay. Yeah. You would what? You would tell if they had parents around close by? Yeah. What do you think? You would rescue them and take them to your grandpa's house? Okay. Let him deal with it, huh? Yeah. Riley? That's a very good idea, too. Give them a calming down space and then let them maybe talk to each other after. Okay, one more, Henry.
I would get a cheetah to come and chase them away to a different place.
A cheetah to chase them away. Okay, David, I'll let you. Okay. Well, I want you guys to think about that and think about other ways if you saw somebody or some animals fighting. No, like Flo is very brave, and you can be fantastic whatever you are too if you want to help people and be a peacemaker. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to head on to our classes, so if we can have everybody stand and make an archway.
Our reading this morning comes from a wonderful book entitled Bless Me Ultima. It is way better than Candide. It's a very famous novel from the genre of Chicano literature in the United States. Mix of indigenous and Hispanic and other Euro-American cultural sources drawn together into one people. People who have been here far longer than this country has been here. A novel from New Mexico. And in it there is a woman who is a great healer. Curandera is what she is called. She works with indigenous healing practices, and she is remarkably effective. And she has a young protege named Antonio, just 7 years old. At the very end of the book, she dies. She dies a violent death. Forces of selfishness and of greed and of rage, uncontrolled anger, lash out at her. And they take her life. And as she is dying, she turns to this boy who she has been teaching. And this is what she says. Listen to the place of the earth in her blessing. I bless you in the name of all that is good and strong and beautiful. Always have the strength to live. Love life. And if despair enters your heart, look for me in the evenings when the wind is gentle and the owls sing in the hills. I shall be with you. Let us share a moment of silence together. We share the plate this month to support many of our own social justice projects. And I would like to invite Alice Sutton to come and speak with you about how we are doing this for Share the Plate, and also some of the work that our Social Justice Council is leading us in. Alice.
Praise God. I want to tell you about our 3 projects for this month alone. First of all, for Share the Plate today and next Sunday, we're donating 1/2 of our undesignated plate collections for our Justice for All projects. You can also designate money in an envelope, all for Share the Plate, or write a check just for Share the Plate. So many of our congregation love the hands-on projects we do. Like last year, the Martin Luther King hygiene gifts that we put together, and then the birthday boxes that the children put together last month. So our donations will help us do many more of these projects and to do them bigger and better. They'll help with the Homeless Period Project, the Holiday Giving for the Safe Homes Rape Crisis Center, this January's MLK Day hygiene kits, and more. Share the Plate will help us expand these projects. Next, the students from USC Upstate who are working with us this semester are collecting winter coats on campus to donate to those in need. Then they'll be joining us Saturday, November 17th to sort these. If you have lightly used or new winter coats you'd like to donate, we've put up a clothes rack in front of the Social Justice Bulletin Board. That's right next to the Total Ministries food barrel. We will be joining them to sort those clothes, and we'll also be packing bags for the Homeless Period Project that day. So everyone is welcome to come at 10 o'clock, Saturday, November 17th. Our last project is almost upon us, and it's one day only. On Election Day, we'll be offering rides for folks in our South Converse neighborhood all day long who can't get to the polls without it. If you haven't signed up to help and would like to, see Patrice at the table next to the food barrel after the service. We'll be driving only to the polling sites within our neighborhood. You can volunteer to be a driver or an accompanist. All drivers will have another volunteer with them. So think about these and the other projects that we have coming up, and please choose the work that feeds your soul. Thank you.
I bless you in the name of all that is good and strong and beautiful. Always have the strength to live. Love life. And if despair enters your heart, look for me in the evenings when the wind is gentle and the owls sing in the hills. I shall be with you. Blessed by all that is good and strong and beautiful. I want to ask you to listen to those words and to hear how blessing comes not from just one source, from one authority or one location. It comes from all that is good. All that can offer a blessing does. We have just celebrated Halloween, All Hallows Eve. And many of our sister churches today are celebrating All Saints' Day, a day of remembering those who have died. There is a third day in this series of holidays, a turning in the season from summer towards winter. All Hallows Eve and All Saints. And then on November 2nd, All Souls Day. A day when in the Euro-American traditions of religion, everyone is remembered. It's a holiday that is somewhat forgotten by us now, but one that I find very beautiful, and one that gives its name to many of our fellow Unitarian congregations across this country. Many of our most well-known Unitarian congregations are called All Souls UU Fellowship or All Souls UU Church. It is beautiful and traditional and very old, and I think very poetic. And in the infancy of my initiation here with you, it also rings very true to who we are. All souls. It's such a democratic way to speak of things. Everyone. And beautiful. All souls. And haunting. Not without grief. All souls. And universal. And very brave. All souls. Consider the soul of our nation. Just in these last 2 weeks. We are not defined by our violence, but we are certainly characterized by it. In Kentucky, even before 2 people were mercilessly shot down because of their ethnicity at a grocery store, the shooter tried to enter an African American church. It's only that he couldn't enter the church, that he missed a large gathering there by 1 hour, that what is already a horrendous tragedy wasn't multiplied. Many people didn't hear about this shooting in Kentucky because of all the news that was breaking about pipe bombs mailed from Florida the same day. News of one terrorist act overwhelmed news of another terrorist act. That's not good news. And then in Pennsylvania, shooting of 11 people gathered for worship in the Tree of Life Synagogue, which recalled for many folks the shooting in Charleston only a few years ago at Mother Emanuel AME Church. And now, thousands of troops are amassing on our nation's southern border for, if I may just say so, no reason at all. And then the endless litany of schools and workplaces, and now even yoga studios, where people act in violence towards one another. Political violence, particularly, is a rejection of democracy and of our democratic ideal. Political violence especially is engineered for intimidation and isolation and suppression. It has one goal: to win by shutdown, to gain power by canceling out the other party. I don't want you to be confused. What I'm talking about this morning is not partisanship. It's the opposite of that. What I'm talking about is democracy, about the democratic ideal, about the demos from Greek, which just means all the people. Demos means everybody, all souls, those with whom we agree and those with whom we disagree. It is because of the demos that we have spent the summer as a congregation helping to register voters. And it is because of the demos, all the people, that on Tuesday we will help to drive people to the polls. Because this is what we do as a nation. This is why we marched yesterday. For all the people. The ones in the road walking, and the ones choosing to be on the sidewalk or not. Marching for all of them, even if we strongly disagree with some of them. Last Saturday night, I held hands with Sally Hicks as she was dying. Sally had been sick, but no one anticipated that she would die last weekend. And Sally had great difficulty breathing. It was a fight. She was well cared for, but it was a fight, and she fought valiantly. But as she lay there on Saturday night and Sunday morning, she lay there with no apparent power by the measure of those whose standards are winning and might and overwhelm. She was the model of vulnerability and of imminent loss. But through the night, two friends held her hand. Through the night, her vulnerability gathered to her people who cared deeply for her, and the thoughts and the energy and the prayers of a number more. And at 10:10 last Sunday morning, just as people were gathering here at the congregation that Sally loves so much, she let go of life. And there is a part of my imagination that can't help but see Sally's soul shooting out of that damn hospital to come and see a celebration of the Day of the Dead at the church that she loves so much. I don't know how all of that works. But what I see in Sally's death last week is not weak at all. It is vulnerable. But it draws to her the strength of friends and of love, of those who would be with her. And it moves on into great fellowship with the congregation that she adores. When there is no peace, those who sometimes seem most vulnerable and most weak offer one another peace in our presence, just in the kindness we show to one another. Violence creates isolation. It creates loneliness. It is about shut down and shut out. But when we draw together, even in apparent weakness, and even in despair, we become much more. When we hold the hand of a dying friend, when we mourn their passing, when we gather here to reckon with the world, and with our own biases and our own blind spots that foment the problems of this world. we ask ourselves, what is it that we are striving for? What is it that we are doing? And why are we doing this? Now, this Tuesday is another election. And we might well ask, for what? Why? And I would answer in this way. We hold these elections to vote, which is to advocate, to fight for those that we love and for those concerns that we care about. We go certainly out of self-interest and out of concern. And I would say even more, at least I go to win. I'm not going there to lose. I've lost a lot. You may know the feeling. But that's not what's motivating me. We go to win. All the way to the end. And sometimes through the recounts. But what's the goal in winning? We go to win not just for our self-interest, not just for ourselves, but for the demos, for all the people. We go to win for everyone as best as our dim lights can show us the way. For all souls. We go striving for a world more livable for all of us, for everyone, without violence, without intimidation, without isolation, without exclusion. A world where even our enemies are healed and at peace. This may be absolutely against our instinct. There's a big part of me that lurches when I say these words. And this is definitely the opposite of what institutional religion generally teaches. Institutionalized religion finds just justification in normalization, and then from that to control, then to correction, that's a euphemism, and then to exclusion, and finally to violence in the name of obedience to a religious authority. But that is not our way. And we share this across multiple religious traditions in the world. Ours is a way of transformation for everyone, for the demos, for all. It is a way of hoping and striving for all souls. This is very difficult. It is beautiful. It is haunting. How do we do this? And why do we hold to such an evasive ideal? It is certainly grief-stricken, as many of us have known far too well on Wednesdays after Tuesdays. It is universal, for all. It is democratic, and it is brave, which is not what violence is. I looked out over the Pride March yesterday at all of those beautiful souls, laughing, talking, dressing in every possible form of dress, every possible color, circulating around one another, eating, talking, singing, dancing, kicking soccer balls in every direction. Grown-ups running across fields to get their own soccer ball. All of them prepared for ugliness. Everyone there prepared for the hatred of normalization and control and correction and exclusion. And I think, given the state of our nation's soul, frankly, everyone there prepared for violence, but not there for it, for something much more, for all people. And I couldn't help but notice, in the beauty of all the people gathered there, the beauty of the trees that surrounded us, as if they were accompanying us, these people wearing every possible color of the rainbow, and the trees doing exactly the same thing. Look out the windows and see. Gold, green, orange, brown, red, purple, and a bright blue sky. As if the trees were marching with us, transforming the world for all souls, democratically, blessing us, all of us, without distinction, whatever part of the sidewalk or road we chose to stand on, the trees surrounding us with a blessing of all colors, reminding us of everything that is good and strong and beautiful, as I hope we bless them too.
Please stand as you are able and join in singing, "Let There Be Peace on Earth." The words are in the order of service. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as the maker, children all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song now. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become holy ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being, common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Amen.